Hey, Nick Thomas here with InfoSec Sync. I'm at the 10th Annual National Cyber Summit in Huntsville, Alabama, and I have a treat for you guys here. This is Israel Arroyo, AKA Izzy, AKA Gunny, and we actually used to work together at a certain three-letter agency doing some really cool stuff back in the day. He's actually the founder and CEO of Stealth Entry out of Columbus, Ohio. So welcome, Izzy.
Thank you.
Hey, good seeing you, man.
It's awesome, man. I mean, gosh, it's been years since you and I sat a pause together, man.
Yep.
And, it's just good to see you and, rekindle.
Yeah, and what do you think about the Cyber Summit?
I love it. I love it. You always come to new, places to look at, what the new technologies are and what people are offering, sitting in and listening to some of the talks. I don't care where you are. DC isn't the only place that understands cybersecurity. So I finally got out of the DC bubble. I'm from Columbus, Ohio myself now, originally from New York, but, leaving the DC area, I started really understanding and realizing that there's a lot of cyber talent out there that just doesn't work in buildings without windows. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And really innovative people that know what they're talking about.
So what we're going to talk about here is what you do as a small business, who your clients are, what you do, and how you started. So especially for the veterans that are out there or the people that are getting ready to get out of the military, let's go through your footsteps of how that happened and how you started Stealth Entry.
I'm glad you mentioned that. And, every once in a while I'll get that, from a larger prime, for example, would look at us and say, well, how long have you been in business? And I will say, maybe 9 years, I think it's been since we've actually put the LLC in practice. But what happened was they always say 9 years and you're just now coming out and hitting the market. And one of the reasons because of that is the VA, the SBA, they provide you the tools to grow. They don't give you anything. So, I know a lot of people.
You've got to hit the ground.
You got to hit the ground. You got to actually take what they give you, put it into action, and you got to sit there and say, you know what? I'm committed. I'm going to do this. I know it's a lot of work, but even if you ask Mark Cuban, right? I mean,
you got to drive, man.
You got to drive. You got to keep going.
Who's in charge?
Yeah, and one of the things that I really, really loved was I felt like that, I felt like every time somebody told me no or not quite, or you need this or you need that, that just drove me.
Made you work harder, right?
That made me work harder to get to where I needed to be. Of course, on the business side, you want to be competitive and you want to have a competitive edge and you want to have the innovation. But as we talked about earlier, you and I come from a background where, a lot of companies are going into things trying to monetize a commodity.
But they're blind to
the actual cybersecurity side of things. I'm not knocking any company or anything, but one thing I like to say and like to evangelize about our organization is we are a cybersecurity that is able to provide software development, project management, etc. Nowadays, you usually see an IT company jumping on the newest, let's use blockchain, for example, or IoT, all the little buzzwords, right?
But where are the SMEs and the information behind all that?
Exactly. The SMEs are
and how do you build that infrastructure like that?
It's tough. It is, because once again, when you take something that's been so commoditized and you try to take it as, we do this because this is what we feel is the right thing to do, and the benefits will come after, right?
Right.
You just tackle what you need to tackle the goal, go for the objective, and everything will follow, everything will fall in place. So when you come out of the gate and you're done with the VA and you get your veteran-owned status and you get your 8A status like we have, and you start getting your GSA schedule, this was years in the making. This wasn't just
overnight success.
Overnight. It was, and that's why when I tell that story to people like, big prime contractors, they understand that, okay, you did this with, now mind you, no VC, no capital, nothing. We came to where we are by sheer hard work and dedication. And let's face it, no quitting, right? That's what we were taught in the military,
Yeah.
especially the Marine Corps. Don't quit, just keep going. And that's why I believe we're successful to the point we are today. And of course, we got plenty of growth ahead of us.
Okay, excellent. So let's get started on Stealth Entry. So tell me about what the company provides to your customers.
So, one of the things that not one, but a lot of the different offerings that we do, we're your basic, cybersecurity is first and foremost. So anything from a software development project to a fully functioning web portal architecture, web app, web database, data analytics, everything that we do is focused on security. So everybody that works on the team is a security person at heart,
Right.
but their skill set is based on what the project calls for.
But security is always baked in from the beginning.
The beginning, which is the way it should be, right? And some people, it's hard to get somebody outside of the security business and try to get them in and then say, oh, and by the way you used to get your code out of either GitHub or this or that,
Yeah,
we're
no.
not doing that anymore, right? Now you got to actually write some code. I'm sorry, but you know what? The security team's actually going to have to do
Reviews,
a scan
yes.
of review, make sure whether it's an app dev STIG or it's the OWASP top 10, whichever framework you use for whatever customer. And it kind of a little bit slows it down, but it gets to a point where it becomes a process. Something you can repeat, come out with the same result, give them a secure platform or a secure environment, and that's what we strive for. The other thing too is, we do a lot of security stuff. We do a lot of, your basic, we do pen testing because that's where our heart lies. We do a lot of pen testing, red team assessments, vulnerability assessments. We do, risk management. We do the DoD side. One of the good things that I was able to do when I left the DoD, I became very comfortable and very knowledgeable in the commercial sector. So PCI, HIPAA, SOX, all the things you learn in the CISSP class that don't mean much in DoD.
Means a lot on the commercial side.
Means a lot in
Compliance,
the commercial.
yeah.
So when you come out of DoD and you're used to hearing things like NIST and
RMF,
DCID, you know what? You start thinking, okay, but it's not that hard to take what we've learned and put it into the commercial sector, because believe it or not, when you take those frameworks from DoD and you transfer them into the commercial side, you got to be able to talk the business sense to them and say, let me explain. We're utilizing an actual proven methodology in the DoD to secure your system at XXX Healthcare, but what they need to understand is this is so secure that it exceeds what you're trying to accomplish. So by actually following what we're doing for you and giving you this framework, you're actually meeting your compliance and you don't even realize it. So it's almost kind of like, you know what? I'm going to give 125%, but if I only wind up giving 105, I'm still giving more than what's necessary.
Oh, great.
And you teach that to the business in valuing, by either budgets or man hours. You might be able to cut certain things out or add certain things that are going to be best for their organization. And that's where knowing what kind of organization they are, whether they're DoD, healthcare, etc. And those are the kind of things we do. We come in to be a trusted partner. We're not in there to say, you guys are doing it all wrong. I've seen it,
Right.
I mean, I've seen people come in, usually those IT companies that are IT companies who have a service that's cyber, not a cybersecurity company that comes in who understands all the aspects of IT. And I think that's a very unique way of looking at things. And I think that's the way people should start really looking at it, is come in as a cybersecurity trusted partner and not as an IT vendor with cybersecurity knowledge.
So for these customers or partners, do you help train them?
Absolutely. One of the things that we like to not brag, but one of the things we like to bring to the table, yes, I can brag a little, no, but what we like to do is we like to not only show them, what's been done, but we like to teach them what's been done so they understand. I mean, I'm not one to, here's the solution, okay, I'll see you later, call me when it breaks. That doesn't do anybody good. if they could even have one resource be on the project and watch what we're doing and get an understanding of how things work, that in itself would speak volumes, because now you don't get those phone calls, hey, this service went down, what do we need to do?
Right, they'll know what to do.
Right, they already know because you already told
And they'll
them.
reach back to you if they need more help,
really
right?
need more help.
So in addition,
and we train too.
Okay, so in addition to that, you're working hand in hand with them on that, but you can also train other things, right?
Absolutely. We're an authorized training center for EC Council.
Oh wow. Okay.
We can provide, certified ethical hacker, forensics investigation.
CISO?
CISO.
Okay.
We can do the secure programming, .NET, Java. There's about 12 different courses that we can offer. We're also writing a proprietary DoD requested class it's going to be available for the U.S. Air Force and AFRL and some other Air Force units, where they're going to take the novice, maybe even out of JCAC or the class down in Pensacola we're familiar with. They're going to be able to come out, and not only with that information, we're going to bring them into a course that is going to literally show them what they need to know on the job. Because I don't care how many classes you've been to, if you get somewhere, there's going to be certain things the organization is going to do that are still basic across all of DoD, but they're really not known in a book. Well, guess what? We have someone on our training staff who has been in the Army. He's done, security for DISA. He understands how to take a system and make it available, authorized to operate, ready for the network. So that is something that nothing's been not being done, and we're already completing a class.
So
for that as we
is
speak.
that for the DoD or is that for your commercial clients as well?
Commercial
Could
clients
it be?
as well. It could be, because basically what we're doing is we're showing them not only how to harden systems to a certain security, I guess, level, whether it's PCI or whether it's RMF. We're teaching them the basics on how to do it. So whether it's a Windows box, a Linux box, a device, we can do the whole network, the whole infrastructure. But those are the little things that aren't necessarily taught in these courses. They'll tell you how to use ACAS, Tenable Nessus, big shout out to you. All the different tools. They'll teach you how to run a scan. But one thing they don't teach is how to take the scan, put an assigned value, and then go to the
relate it back
to the actual infrastructure. And mind you, without impeding either production or business processes for commercial or operational readiness in the DoD.
So Izzy, do you have a name for that class yet?
We're
working on that?
We're working on the name. We're
kind of exciting.
We're working on the name. We don't know if it's going to be vulnerability management related, DoD secure hardware related. We don't know yet, but the course has already been laid out. We have our outline. We've already started doing the labs and writing the curriculum and the material.
So we're running out of time here. I just got one more question for you. So when I give you these terms, tell me what comes to mind. Blockchain, ATPs, IoTs, what comes to mind when I say those things?
Buzzwords.
Yes.
It's interesting you mentioned that. So right now, the big buzzwords on the market now are how to secure your IoT, how to secure the blockchain, how to utilize the blockchain. It's not new. Blockchain's been around for years. It's just now getting big only because of the fact that, the cryptocurrencies are now using it, and the cryptocurrencies are going through the roof. The fundamental idea of blockchain was basically meant for integrity, for not having trust.
Right, it's almost a key exchange.
It's a key exchange. It's okay. We're going to take this. We're going to roll it. Utilize whatever was done before as a hashing algorithm, etc. Anybody who understands blockchain knows that that's the basic fundamentals. But it can be utilized to be a very powerful tool. And the reason why I say that is we've come up with a proprietary use of the blockchain.
Oh, interesting.
So we have a platform that we are now integrating. We're in the integration process. All the pieces are laid out. A lot of it is proprietary and patented. So it's going to handle many use cases, both in civilian, first responder, and the DoD sector, which is kind of unheard of because to have one tool to be able to handle so many different use cases, you almost have to back up a little bit, okay, and say, okay, which top use cases can we use now that are going to be the most effective and show value? And I can give you three. One of them is the public school system and law enforcement agencies and first responders. For example, part of our solution is called Critical Incident Management, CIM. What it does basically is it utilizes the physical infrastructure and plans, diagrams, anything that we can utilize to map out map out a building or an organization, and it utilizes IoT to give you real-time status and real-time feeds into an organization. Now, one thing that differentiates us from everyone else with the CIM that is trying to get into CIM is the proprietary technology behind what we like to call, it's an automated detection of remote control. Basically what it does is it takes any IoT device which handles asset management and actually the whole, how do you know what's on your network? It actually will provide asset management, inventory your asset, find it, tell you the IP address, where it is, the vendor, who it is, and whether or not it's in your inventory that you put on there or it's somebody else's.
Okay.
So it basically takes the IoT guess out of IoT. And when we put our infrastructure into the system, into maybe the school system, we utilize the already available infrastructure and we just take that feed because it automatically recognizes it. When it does that, now we have a fully, viewable scene of everything that's inside the environment, whether it's a public building, whatever. We also have proprietary sensors. The sensors themselves are what really provide the alerting. And we also utilize a proprietary protocol within the geolocation, GPS protocol.
Okay.
And what we do basically is if one of our sensors goes off, the sensor already understands where it is in the building.
And what's around it.
And the sensor can either be done by someone with a cell phone, but it gets even better because our sensors not only detect the cell phone, they detect sound. So if either for example, a gunshot or a loud crowd or something specific to the incident happens, it will get detected via one of those sensors. Another part that we really...
An alert, right?
An alert. It alerts everyone and begins the lockdown process for the first responders. Now what it does also is after it takes that information and sends it back to the SOC, the real live monitored SOC, it also can take another sensor that was developed to recognize gunshot powder residue. So for example, if I'm at the front of an area and I'm the threat, and I begin right there and then, and I release a round out of a weapon, the sensor can pick up the actual
Sniff
chemical
it in,
compound.
right? Let you know what it is.
Exactly, of gunshot
That's cool.
residue. So that will also do it because if no one's seeing,
Yeah.
but you hear it or it smells, the actual it's a certain compound. You can't just go somewhere and just throw up gunpowder, right? Because it actually has to have a process to make it gunpowder, the igniting of the casing, the gunpowder, etc. So it recognizes that, and if nobody knows anything, and what it does, that's when the sensor goes off, but the GPS technology also comes off and says, hey, sensor XXS went off, all the IoT stuff goes boom into that one location. Now you've isolated that situation to a known part of the building, and everybody else out here can begin their evacuation process.
Sounds like schools could use that nowadays.
Absolutely, but let's go one step further. Imagine back to that before I forget. So not only will it do that, it'll begin the incident response process based on the actual alerting of the sensor. After it does that, not only do you have an idea of what's going on, but the incident that happened in South Florida where there was someone who didn't know the situation inside, well, the IoT part kicks in. because all those feeds that you see are also being manned by the police department, by fire department, by the first responders, the ambulance, et cetera, et cetera. They all have a live feed, and as they're driving to the area, if they haven't done so already, they're already planning their breach, their tactical
and
movements,
where people are going to evacuate
they
to.
They know where he is. They know exactly where he is, and they can go in and reduce and take care of the threat. So my thing is, it takes time and puts it on the side of the first responder, because as you and I both know, in the military, time saves lives.
Yeah.
Right? And the other use case, and I know we probably got to go here in a minute, the other use case we utilize is, everybody's heard of smart buildings, everybody's heard of smart cities, right? Our technology is already able to handle smart capabilities. Now, one thing that makes us a little different, like I said, is not only the proprietary technologies that we've implemented, but we have a working solution. It's already being used overseas.
Okay. You have use cases for those?
Absolutely. We are using some of the technologies in places like, Telecom Malaysia, Telecom Hong Kong. Some of the technologies are being used in the state of Ohio right now. Like the SIM solution, there's a base solution in the state that is not even beta, it's actually an alpha. We took that and we built it into a fully enterprise viable solution for them as well. So when I say smart city, smart building, I look at it as being utilized in a forward operating base. We call it a smart fob. And these are things that you're going to see on our white paper. You're going to see them in our use cases. So we're taking the technology and we're putting it forward deployed.
Okay.
Now think of this scenario. We utilize technologies and secure protocols that are not easily detectable, because we both come from a SIGINT background. They're not easily detectable to your typical SIGINT TTPs, which is good. We did that on purpose. As everyone knows right now, there's a lot of things going on in the EW world overseas, and the adversary is not as archaic as we thought. So what we did is we came up and we said, okay, we thought of an idea. We said, how about this? We take all these IoT technologies. We already have the proprietary encryption, the multi-factor authentication, the encryption to get everything from endpoint to database encrypted. No one can see it. The protocols we use, everything is encrypted. So now take the technology and put all these cameras, facial recognition we have, so we have biometrics, but not the kind of biometrics that you would think that would be susceptible to replay attacks. So you have that, you have those kind of authentications, but then you also have those proprietary sensors that are encrypted utilizing PKI. So they're beaconing, but they're PKI encrypted, so you can't even tell what the data is or the traffic. Now you get a few of my SIGINT cyber Marines who rock. You get some of my guys out there on a Humvee around the perimeter of a fob. I don't know, fob hit, fob whatever. And you start placing those beacons. And you put them outside, so far outside the perimeter that if something triggers them, you know there's an adversary X amount of feet coming in before they even get to your front gate. So you know that you can look and actually look at what they're doing a mile and a half maybe outside before they come in. And you know a mile and a half out that if there's somebody coming in and it's an up-armored freaking oil rig that has wires coming out of it and there's a freaking plate on it with a little thing that big with the guys, you can look at it and say, yeah, take them out. And the good thing about it is our communications technology can actually also control drones.
Okay.
So we can also get drones ready at the ready and say, send them out, do a recon perimeter around and whatever. Now the technologies obviously are hush hush. We don't talk about them. These are just use cases that we are gonna present, and I think that in itself, and there was an incident, as a matter of fact, where two Marines, Lance Corporals, Ura, Semper Fi, rest in peace, brothers. They were maintaining the perimeter of a fob, and an SBB IED came in and they went down like true Marines till the end, and they saved the lives of some allies, some local
That's great.
local allies, and a lot of Marines. But once again, I look at that as one of the use cases, and I say, if we had those sensors out there,
Would have
and
saved
somebody
lives.
was inside,
Yeah.
I wonder. There's always a wonder and a what if. So when I hear things like blockchain, I hear things like IoT, and I hear people always talking about during talks, they're talking about the issue, but not coming up with a
Solution for it.
And it's kind of tough. And this is the first time I've actually openly talked about our solution, because it's tough to talk about something that you really can't talk about. You're on a panel or you're in the middle of an IoT, blockchain, some sort of conversation, and you know how hard it is to say, oh wow, we got a proprietary patented solution that can actually fix that. But you can't let it out the bag just yet.
Yeah.
But we're so close now, I think we can start marketing and giving a little bit of an understanding of what it is. And then let people guess on how the technology is being done.
So Izzy, I know you have a white paper out on some stuff and maybe some use cases. So where can people go to view this stuff and your services?
So right now, the white papers haven't been uploaded yet to our website, because we're actually redoing our website.
Okay.
We're redoing it. As soon as the website comes up operational with our new look, a new brand, not branding, but it's going to just have a lot of new capabilities to it. Because we started really branching out into full service IT security and IT. Once again, we are a cybersecurity company. So we decided to say, you know what, we just don't do pen tests. We just don't do this, we just don't do that. We're now software developers. We're now, we follow agile CMMI level processes now. We're not just that niche security company that comes in, does a pen test, here's your report, see you later, I'll see you next year. We don't, we've never done that, and we don't want to be like that. So we started saying, you know what, we now do software development. We do full projects with software development, DB development, and et cetera. So when you go to the website, it's going to show our capabilities. It's going to show the new website, and it's going to show everything that we do. And I hope, like I said, we follow our core values. They're just like Marine Corps, integrity, dependability, and humility. And we, not like the Marine Corps, pretty close.
And what's the website address? What's the website address?
www.stealthentry.com. By the way, we also did start Stealth Entry Labs.
Okay.
We do have another company that we did start up, our sister company, which is going to be more of the vulnerability research, exploit development, and developing more capability into our product, into our system.
Awesome. Izzy, it was great seeing you, man.
Good to see you again, brother, man. Thank you. Come
All
here,
right,
give me love. Give me love. All right.
Hey, thanks for staying in sync
Absolutely.
with InfoSec Sync.
With InfoSec Sync.